Hello, everyone. Welcome to our weekly live group mentoring at Firecircle. I'm Deneen Allen, for those of you who don't know me. Daniel, welcome. Nice to meet you. I'd love to know what your business is. And Denise, nice to see you again. Nacho, nice to see you. Hopefully we're going to get a few others into the room, but Daniel, you're in your car office.
I think it's just a picture, right? I
Is this a
thought,
picture?
I thought, yeah, I thought Daniel was in his car,
In the
but
car.
maybe.
I'm usually in my car office, so that's usually my background. Um, but hello and welcome. I think we're going to just wait a couple of minutes before we get started because this is a little bit of a workshop, and I'd like if there were some other people joining us that they get into the room. So let's just hang out for a bit. Denise, how are you doing? Things calming down with um fires and smoke?
No, no. I mean, things are calming, as you know. Like Summerland is and my friend's cabin survived up at the north end. So but the smoke, it's better today. Temperatures are super high, so the risk is still there. We've had another fire just in Peterson Creek here, two of them now in the last week and a half. So yeah, it is what it is.
But you guys are safe. Is there still a lot of smoke all around you then?
Today it's starting to clear, but yeah, it was really bad, quite bad yesterday. But it's fire season. What can you do? We've had, but one of the things that we've had, I've never had these many cancellations. Like for the long weekend that's coming up, there are the softball world tournament, and we've had three cancellations and three rebookings within a day for that weekend. And it's just like, oh well. But I'm lucky because we've been able to maintain the top tier, within Airbnb. So we book up right away. It's
Yeah.
great. It's great. But it's,
I'd love to do one of our sessions. I don't know, maybe next week. I have to look at what topic we had set up for next week, but I really want to talk about cancellation policies and what everyone is doing with these emergencies because I feel like that is one of the biggest stresses out there is the loss of income. What is a reasonable cancellation policy? What is like too punishing, for you or for the guest? Like, I just think that would be a very helpful conversation for a lot of operators. So anyway, maybe next week and maybe the week after and we put something out there from Firecircle that sort of gives a few ideas to everybody about what they could be doing in terms of their cancellation policy, because there's the whole gamut, I think, right now going on. It's just like during COVID, when
yeah.
like some places held on to the money, like we're intransigent about giving any money back. A lot of operators went to the future credit route, which is a good idea, lets you hold on to the money, but then, you still are you're still giving up revenue technically because next year when they come, you're not going to get revenue. You already took it in this year. So it's a complex issue, and I feel like probably worth a good conversation with everybody. Uh,
Well, especially when you're like, for example, Kim's not here right now with Brennan Hills, but we've been working together. And when you've got multiple platforms, so Airbnb, HipCamp, Firefly, and then figuring out the dynamics from that, and you have to go by their cancellation, like with Firefly, or not Firefly, but with Airbnb and HipCamp. It's you pick the policy, right? So it's going to be mild, moderate, or no cancellation.
Hardcore. Yeah. Yeah.
So you're out there back and call, and you have to be what we found, because we only have the one unit with Airbnb, is that we have to be extremely careful on how we monitor that, and how we do that, because if for example, the smoke, so you'll get cancellations. Well, we can't come there because of the smoke. So what do? Do you comp them the full amount? Yes, you do, because this is an unreal situation. It's outside of the box. And even though our regulations say, oh, you're only allowed to get 50% back, a full refund within 3 days, no refund within 24 hours, but things change, right? So
Or-
you have to be able to adapt and say, okay, well, I'm going to go against Airbnb's policy and I'm going to comp you the full amount because that's the right thing to do.
Yeah. But
The
you know, you've got a very reasonable handle on it, and I think a lot of operators are struggling. Like, what is the right thing to do? But that's interesting. That yeah, of course, all the different booking. If you're using booking platforms like OTAs, then yes, they're all going to have different ones. Oh, we've got Carol joining us. Daniel, can you say where you're joining us from? If you feel like popping on camera or just unmuting for a minute. Would love to know.
Or maybe in the chat when he
Yeah,
has time.
okay, I can't see the chat right now. Hi, Carol. Okay, we're gonna get started here. I would love to know who is using AI right now, because I want this to be a really useful session for you, and I want it to be not scary if you're not using a lot of AI. So maybe a show of hands or a little emoji or something. Let me know. Denise, I know you're using AI. I know Nacho's using AI. I'm using it excessively.
Yeah.
Carol, how about you? I'm not sure, Carol, if you can hear us okay. No, I'm not getting our.
Well, while Danielle and Carol answer, oh, someone's talking.
Go ahead,
I,
Nacho.
I was gonna say that while Carol and Danielle are trying to respond, I would say that pretty much I think everyone is using AI right now. Even when we look in Google, it's AI was giving us the answer now, you know. So
This is true. This is true. Yeah, that's a very good point. Even when we don't think we're using it, we're using it. So for this session today with all of you, I wanted, by the end of this session, you will actually know how to create an operating manual using AI with very simple steps. So I promise you that much. And we're also going to send you a step-by-step PDF of what I'm presenting today. So I think that's going to be a really helpful guide for you. I want to tell you the story of how I came to use AI to build a very, very comprehensive operating manual or standard operating procedures for a hotel. So in my other business, I do a lot of consulting to hotels, RV, outdoor hospitality, glamping, food and beverage businesses. So I do a lot of hospitality consulting. And I've been working on a hotel up in Tukdekuk. Hi, Kim, in Tukdekuk in the Northwest Territories. And we just opened the hotel, just opened at the beginning of August. But last October, my client, who I've been working with for a long time up there, and actually I did the original market and feasibility study for this cultural center with a hotel and with an office building attached to it. I started working on that in 2018. Fast forward to last August or so, I guess, the client called me and they said, okay, the hotel is under construction. They had changed quite a bit of the architecture and the operating plan that I had originally written for them, not the manual, but the operating plan for how this whole cultural center and hotel and office building would work. They had changed a lot of it. But she called me, my client, and she said, is there an operating manual for the hotel? And I said, oh, I said, well, No, unless you're going to take on a flag. And what I mean by that is, you're going to take on one of the Choice Hotel flags or one of the Marriott flags, and then they will help you with your operating manuals because they have standards of service and of operating that fall under that brand of hotel. But of course, no, this is a little 19-room hotel on the edge of the Arctic Ocean in Tuktoyaktuk, and it's like an independent boutique hotel. So I said, no, we would have to build one from scratch. And they said, well, could you do that for us? Could you build our standard operating procedures for the hotel, our operating manual? And I said, yes. And the reason I said yes was because AI. And because I knew that I could use all of the documentation that existed for the architecture of the hotel, the business plan that I'd written a long time ago for the hotel with some of the operating ideas in it. I had I was doing all the procurement for all the furniture and all the fixturing. So I knew that I had a lot of information about the physical hotel, the physical parts of it, the building, the systems, the furniture, fixtures, and equipment. And you need that first, right? It's one of the building blocks of operating is you have to know like, well, what equipment am I using? What spaces? We'll talk more about that. And so I ended up building the operating manual using all of this kind of documentation, which I'm going to show you a little bit of in this presentation so that you can do something similar for your business. How many of you have some version of your standard operating procedures written down? Oh, awesome. That's impressive. Okay, that is not necessarily normal for most of our small businesses. So in your case, you might be adding to that, or you might be creating other sections, etc. So I've got this PDF up in front of everybody, and we're going to go through it, and it's going to show us the steps that I used for the hotel and that anybody could use with AI. So I used ChatGPT, and I did not do anything special except give it extremely good prompts. Now I have ChatGPT, the paid subscription. Okay, everyone have a paid subscription? The paid subscription allows you to upload documents. So you have to have a paid subscription. How much do you pay, Kim, for your subscription, your personal prescription subscription? So like $20 or something?
It's in American, like it's 20 something American, so like $32 or something.
Yeah, and I think that's the same for everyone. I pay for a teen version, so I pay a little bit more. But it's what allows you to upload documents just like you upload them into Google Drive. Okay, so that's what. So okay, let's kind of dig in here. I didn't do this in PowerPoint because I didn't want to fuss around with all kinds of PowerPoint quirks. So before you can actually build an operating manual or your standard operating procedures, you have to give it context for your business. Okay, so that is what I was giving AI when I started building the manual for the hotel. I described, first of all, what kind of tourism business this hotel would be. That it was a boutique hotel on the, I told it where, you know how we talk about the where, what, when, how, why? This is what you would describe for AI. You would say, my business is, located here. This is what we do. These are the products that we have. This is what we sell, or these are the experiences that we provide. This is the market that we're in, like this is like, this is who we aim at in the market. Our visitors are, professionals who can afford to come and stay for a week at a time, and really value being out in nature with us. Like what you're really doing is giving it as much context about your business as you possibly can. You can even give AI your website, if your website is really good at describing what you do and what you offer, right? So that would give AI an incredible amount of information about your property, especially if you have photos there, if you know. So what kind of tourism business is it? And then you do describe your customers, right? You want to describe your market, who comes to you, their values, their demographics, you know, what they like to do when they're staying with you. This third point is what spaces, equipment, and systems are you operating, right? So you can upload every living piece of architecture, like buildings, equipment, furniture, and fixtures. You give AI all of that information because, as you know, if you have, in Kim's case, let's say, a certain kind of water system, then you've got to upload that into AI so it understands, like, oh, these are the standard operating procedures for this well, this kind of well, with this kind of filtration system. This is how often it would need to be maintained, that kind of thing, right? So anything that you can tell AI about your business is going to help it with creating operating manuals or stand. I'm going to use those things interchangeably, but the operating manual contains all your standard operating procedures and policies and checklists. Okay, so the operating manual is like the whole thing. And then this last point is like, what service promise are you making? What I mean by that is, how do you put yourself out there in the world? What are you saying that you want your business? You know, when you talk about your brand story, what are you saying that you want your business to be in the world, and how you want it to act and what you want it to mean? So, you know, for the hotel in Tuk, I said things like, you know, this warm and welcoming, cozy, really boutique hotel that is like a home away from home on the Arctic Ocean, and a place where you would meet the people of Saligny. Well, Saligny means the people of that place, but Inuvialuit, where you would meet Inuvialuit from the Western Arctic region, where you would experience the Arctic Ocean and all the flora and fauna of the Arctic. So, you know, like here's, and then what level of service are you providing? Oh, you know, upscale or rustic or whatever it might be. So, you know, you're giving it this kind of context right out of the gate. This is what I've been describing in terms of your property facts. So it'll be inputs that will make the manual useful. It's the richer that the amount of information you give AI about your business, the better your standard operating procedures and your manual will be, right? So I gave it the hotel room mix, like how many queen rooms, how many twin rooms, how many accessible rooms, all the opening dates, you know, so that it could actually help me with planning the opening of the hotel. I gave it the staffing model, etc. I also told it about the weather there. I told it all about the weather, the seasons, winter, summer, spring, fall, snow, ice, all that kind of stuff. So then I've just talked about the physical assets. I uploaded all my lists of all the furniture that I was ordering, all the fixtures and equipment. And I also uploaded, if you have them, any architectural drawings that you have, or any mechanical drawings that you have. Okay, and then I also uploaded the things that I knew that existed that were almost in like separate operating manuals. Like, how many of you are using a property management system for booking? Kim saying yes. Okay. And Denise is using her booking engine is Airbnb, so she doesn't have to have a separate one because it's only one unit of accommodation. But Kim has, remind us, Kim, how many types of accommodation and how many units you have, and you actually, which system are you using?
So I use Firefly. It's a campground management software, and it's more just more than a reservation system. It's also an accounting system. So it also manages all of my guests and all of my, like, I can find out crazy things. There's a whole bunch of reports, which is fantastic information. So I have 27 unserviced campsites, 6 serviced campsites, and then I have 7 cabins and 4 trailer rentals. So it allows me for all the different units and classes and all kinds of different things. It's actually a really fantastic system.
So you could even print a report from, so that system has its own operating manual. So you don't have to create another operating manual for Firefly, because
I can tell you all the income that every single unit brings in on a specific day span of time. Like I take a look all the time at how much why does this one bring in more money? Why does this one?
That's what a property management system should do. And
it's because it's beside the bathroom.
Yeah.
Honest to God. Like it's just bizarre. Yeah.
But you could even get it to print out the site plan, and you could get it to print out a report on all of the different types of accommodation that you have, and you could upload that as a physical asset.
Absolutely could.
And then so you're not going to create another manual for that, because there already is one, but you may have a little checklist for someone using your PMS system of how you log in and how,
like for my staff, I have a manual. But let me also say to you, that manual gets updated, I swear to God, almost daily. Like something else comes up that we haven't experienced before. So it is a living document. It's not just a static document, but there are things that are static. This is how you sign in. This is how those things. There's things that are static.
Basic steps. And that's what and we'll get to that when we talk about checklists, right?
Mm-hmm.
But basically what I'm trying to get across is that the inputs that made the manual useful for me, for the hotel, and will for you, for your business, whether it's a guiding business or whether it's a campground or whether it's an Airbnb, are all the property facts, all the physical and other asset files, anything that you have, anything that's a system and workflow right now that you can you can even handwrite it, take a picture and upload the picture as an attachment, right? So anything that you have that you already do with billing, you might have like 5 little things hanging around that you constantly refer to run your business, right? That are like in 5 different places, that are like 5 little procedures. Just add those in to this so that they get consolidated in one place. Any policies, all of you hopefully have a few policies. We just talked about cancellation policy during emergency, which is a complex policy. But anything that you have already is useful to upload, because I'll show you what else it can do if you don't have those policies established, right? So those are sort of the 4 areas of things that would make your manual and your standard operating procedures useful. This is important. I'm saying upload all this stuff, right? I did not do it all at once because I knew that chat would implode if I tried to give it too much information too fast. So what I did is I decided on the categories that I wanted my manual to include. And I think that is on the next one. So I'm just going to go to this next slide. I told chat, I want my operating manual to have these categories. You'll come up with more categories, but let's say I wanted it to have a housekeeping category. Okay. So I only uploaded the stuff that related to housekeeping. Now that did include all the furniture, fixtures, and equipment in the building. It included the architectural plans. But I didn't ask it to produce more than that section of the manual at once, because it would just get confused. So try and be a little systematic about what part of the manual do you want it to do first? What part do you want it to do second? And try and build it a little more step by step. The other thing that happens when you do that is that it can then reference each version of the manual it's done so far. It can incorporate that previous information and you get even better outputs for the next version. So that was just intuitive for me. I just knew not to overwhelm it, right? So you've probably heard this a bit with AI. Like, I think it's getting better and better, but there was at one point, like maybe a couple of years ago, where if you gave more than 30,000 words, it would just like shut down, you know? So you want to be a little bit careful about how much stuff all at once that you give it. But at that very first prompt that I gave it, I did upload the architectural plans, my description of what the hotel was supposed to do, and my entire spreadsheet of all the FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment that I was buying, and how it would be furnished and the types of rooms. So I did give it quite a lot at the beginning. So that's sort of what I'm saying here, that this was the prompt pattern that worked for me. It was like, first I told AI that it was going to act like an expert hospitality operations consultant, which I am, but it's better. So I just, gave it that sort of like set it up to be successful at doing this for me. Then we've just talked about this. I gave it all the context as much as I could, but sort of systematically once I named the output that I wanted. And I also told it some of the constraints. So I did share that we're in a remote location in a community with only 900 people and not a huge labor pool. I told it things about how hard it is to get supplies there and how expensive. This is all more context, but it's also helping build the operating standard operating procedures. I told it that it's a 365-day 24/7 operation. It's a hotel. It operates like any other hotel. So there was a pattern that worked, and I'm giving you this pattern at the end of this presentation, so you don't have to guess what that pattern is. And we've even got some prompts for you to use. I'm gonna pause on this slide because it's a good visual of what I've just been talking about. I really would love, and I don't know, Carol, I know your camera isn't on, but can you tell me what your business is and where you're coming to us from today? Anything in the chat that I'm missing? Chat. Okay, I'm not. Daniel, are you able to tell us where you're coming from today and what your business is? Just want to make sure this, so I can make this more relevant for everybody.
Hey, good afternoon. Yeah, no, I'm in Cochrane, Ontario, and just working to start up tourism thing for the.
Sorry, what's the business that you're working on?
Just like a cabin retreat. Like,
A cabin retreat.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. I know where Cochrane is. I used to live in Creemore.
Oh, okay, excellent.
Thanks for coming on the screen for a minute. And feel free, thank you. No requirement to stay on camera, but thank you. Okay, so Daniel, this could definitely be useful for you. Yours is not going to be a super complicated. I mean, I don't know how many cabins you're considering. But I guess, if it's one cabin, you can set up all the systems for one. No problem. Got it. Thanks, Daniel. 7 cabins. Oh, okay. This is all right. You do need some systems and processes. So that's awesome. Okay, I'm glad you're here because this will be really helpful for you. So if you get a chance to answer at some moment during this session, let me know if you're using ChatGPT and or what AI you're using, and if you have a paid account, because then you can do this and you need the paid account to be able to do it. Anyway, I'm gonna stop on this visual because it is like, it kind of illustrates what I put in to my AI account to get it to start generating the operating manual. By the way, I'm on the 10th iteration of my operating manual for the hotel. And that's good because every next version gets better because I add a little more information or I tweak information, then I upload that new version again. And so I'm on the 10th version, which is now the draft that we're using for the hotel, and the staff now have a copy of that 10th version. So I'm going to show you that document in a minute, but you're building in layers, right? So photos, website, a bit of your marketing information, how you want it to operate, what kind of business you're trying to operate. Any kind of drawings, you can definitely layer those in. Any, like Daniel, if you had photos of your cabins, interior and exterior, so it was sort of obvious, like the layout inside, what kind of furniture, because what AI is picking up from that, it's picking up what things need to be cleaned and maintained, what other furniture or fixtures might improve the operation. It's quite fascinating what it actually comes up with. It actually produced a list for me of things I hadn't, I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, so I had thought of literally almost everything for the hotel rooms, but then it would ask me questions like, oh, you're operating in the Arctic. Have you considered boot trays for the rooms for wet boots? It's like I had, but it's like, oh my God, it actually thought of that, so it's very cool. Okay, so then you kind of get the idea, right? Add everything and it's gonna, start spitting out what you need that is useful. So these are the categories of things that I inputted, and it's what then became the manual, right? So I put in all the furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Then I also put in all the operating supplies and equipment. So I started telling it what food and snacks would be in the rooms, and what all the cleaning products that had been ordered, and all the linen, all the bedding that had been ordered. And it was checking my par levels. You might not know what that word means, but in a hotel, there's a par level of inventory that you want to carry all the time for bedding and for coffee supplies and all that, because you don't want to go below that level and run out. As soon as you hit that level, you've got to reorder, right? So it even helped me with that. It was pretty wild. I fed it in all of my safety signage that I had created. So in a hotel, there's at the back, on the back of your hotel door, and if you have accommodation, you might have this as well, but it's an emergency exit map that shows you how to get out of the building or how to get to a muster station during an emergency. I fed those into it because I wanted it to help me with emergency procedures in the manual. You can see that, kind of kept going over the last few months, and just, I'll show you this in the manual that I created, but some policies, I just told it kind of what I wanted to do with the policy, and then I asked it to write a policy based on industry standards. So I wanted to come up with a pet policy because it's a no pet hotel, but yes to service animals. So it scanned every pet policy at every hotel in Canada that it could find. And it gave me the synthesis of like, this is what most hotels are doing. By the way, a lot of hotels are getting super frustrated with the emotional support dogs and pets, because people are using that as an excuse to not pay for the pet to be there. you know, then the dog pees on the carpet. It's not really a trained service animal. It's actually just their dog from home. But anyway, it was interesting to research that a bit and to kind of get an update on what's happening in the world of service animals versus pets. But it helped me write the policy. And then I edited it to suit that particular hotel in town. Anyway, this was just sort of a statement about it. It will take all that stuff and turn it into useful procedures, right? Quality control on the final product. Obviously, make sure you're reading what it's producing and that it actually matches how you want to operate, because, you know, it can go rogue and come up with things that have nothing to do with how you actually want to operate. For me, the draft goes to the clients now, and they have to ratify that this is indeed how they agree to operate the hotel. If it's not, I would not take on that final say. So I've written out all the policies, all the procedures, all the checklists. Now it's up to the client to go, and it would be up to you to say, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'm happy. This is actually how I want to operate this part of the business, or this is how I want this procedure to go. This is the right checklist. Oh no, I want to add this to the checklist, and then we just prompt it again. It will add what you want to that checklist. But you know, make it usable, which you're not going to think mine is when you see the draft right now, because it's a very big document, not super user friendly, but it does include everything I need to get to the client. So anyway, those are just some areas that you kind of want to make sure you're hitting. And here's the prompts. I'm just going to leave this up for a bit. These are some of the prompts that they're a little bit of a synthesis of what I use, but these are some prompts that you could use if you're building your own manual, right? So I told you about that first one, then using the attached files, identify the operational implications, draft the standard operating procedure sections we need. I did actually say that, do not invent facts and flag assumptions, because we need to kind of course correct AI sometimes. After I should have numbered these for you, but after I did the main body of the manual, I waited until I had as much information and until it had created a pretty significant manual before I started to ask it to produce checklists. Because it's kind of deriving the checklists from the manual, right? So, but you could get it to do a checklist at any time if you sort of have an idea of that procedure already, right? But I got a lot of checklists out of the manual. And then I keep updating it, right? And I would prompt it to update the manual, update the table of contents, update the numbering on the manual. So there's just some like logistical things that I had to do. And this is probably the most useful slide in the PDF that we're going to give to you, but just going from 1 to 9. And we've talked through all of these things. Describe the operation. Ask for the structure that you want. Upload the inputs in batches, don't overwhelm it. And then draft the SOPs by departments. Departments can be that structure that you're asking it for. You know, it could be food and beverage, housekeeping, could be marketing, maintenance and repairs. These are some operational categories. Administration is another area. Add your policies and exceptions, or at least customize them for you. Convert into checklists. Add the one thing that I didn't do right away, because it took a little while to establish what rules I would need for the hotel. But I did end up adding role descriptions and the team structure. like almost the reporting structure of the team. That was also helpful. And then review it and then just keep updating it as we go. So I'm going to stop there because I want to see if there are any questions. Obviously, there could be questions about the physical way I did this. I can show you that in AI. Denise.
So one of the biggest concerns that I have right now with ChatGPT, if you're paying for the $20 version, is they now have a new policy with credits. And so this is they're now charging you with how much intel you're deriving from your AI agent. So this is ChatGPT that I'm talking about specifically. I've run into it where I've had to buy extra credits because now you're given a weekly allotment. So you have to be extremely careful the file sizes that you're uploading and what you're asking it to do, whether you're working in work mode, right? And what level of work mode you're working in. And also in chat, what you can do in chat, what you can do in work to save yourself from having to buy credits, because I got nailed. Because
well, and then I would ask you, okay, and a very fair observation and something to be cautious of. And what I would ask you is, okay, when you consider, okay, let's say I'm paying, I think I pay 50 something dollars a month for my version of chat a month US. So it's like 70 something dollars now, right? A month. And how long do you think it took me to make that presentation about how to build your operating manual? Anyone want to guess? Not the manual. The manual I've been working on for months, but I haven't been working on it for months. I've been prompting it for months and it's been doing a lot of the work. But I just did that little PDF that you're going to download from the link in the chat. How long do you think that took me? It's not, don't show it to Shannon because it's graphically not like our best Firecircle graphic presentation, but how long do you think that took me to do that presentation? Okay, so it took like 10 minutes.
I was going to say like 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yeah, like 5 minutes for it to generate, and then I had to clean it up. So, okay, maybe it took 20 minutes in total. But my point is this, so how I generated that presentation is I went into my chat where I was working on the hotel manual, and I said to chat, okay, I want to make a presentation about how I built this operating manual with ChatGPT. And I want you to, and which I've been doing for several months, right? So it's got a lot of intel to pull from. And so it pulled that, the process I've just been showing you in the slides, it pulled that from my chat with it on building the Civic Mute manual for Tuck. And if I bill out at $300 an hour for my consulting time, and that, like, you can see that the math is worth it, right? Like the time savings for all of us in subscribing to a paid AI service, whether it's cloud, whether it's chat. I could not have written that manual for the hotel. I wouldn't have had time to write, because now I'm going to show it to you and you're going to go, oh my God, like that is a lot of work. So let me just smooth this over. And then I'm going to show you in chat a little bit how I did it, but let me just first show you. Oh, sorry, I'm missing Kim and then Denise. I don't know whose hand went up first. I'm sorry.
I think it was at the same time. So I feel like, I started using AI about 1.5 years ago or so. And I think for me, it's more been about getting rid of the busy work part.
Mhm.
And it's been great for job descriptions and Like I feed in the reel I put together for Instagram. I feed it into it and say, give me some captions, give me some thoughts about how, and give me suggestions on how to change this or things, even things like that creatively, because I'm not a super creative person. So I don't see things like that. But I've also fed it my 5 Firecircle steps. So it also knows me, and it knows one of the great things is it learns about who you are and what you want, right? So, and I'll be like, no, that's not what I said, or you have to talk to it like a toddler. But I think the really big key, as you said, though, is it does take some license, and you really still have to do the work of reviewing and making sure it's
Guiding it
correct.
and
Yeah. And
yeah.
I think more though, it's more I love it that I can just spill my guts into it, and then it organizes my thoughts I love that part. Because I'm not great at the organization part. I'm great at the thoughts. And so it has saved a ton of time on the organization part too. So, but it is a toddler in need of supervision and review for sure.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Would you, so you are getting the value out of your subscription?
I am, absolutely.
Yeah. Me too, 100%. And Denise?
So when I was talking about the extra services, this is all just new with ChatGPT. And I'm just putting a warning out there for you if you are on the lowest tier of the paid, is that you're very limited in your memory now. And the complex stuff that I'm doing is extremely complex. And so I burned through credits. So I bought 500 credits. It lasted me about 10 minutes. So what I'm warning you about is be aware of this. Check how many credits you have per week. You're only given an allowance. I figured out how to work around it, but unless you're paying for a higher tier, you are going to be limited. So think about what you're uploading. Try and reduce the file sizes if you can. The other thing that I want to back up on Kim is that when I'm doing structures and I'm building models, I audit every single thing that comes back, because even though I've been using it for years and it knows me and I've got guardrails that are very strict in place, it will still throw in some random stuff. And so it's so important that you audit and you don't believe a thing until you've read every single word.
Yeah, especially like I'm creating this manual for a client. I have to read the entire manual. So I want you to see the 10th iteration of the manual. You can see that it's there. You can see my categories, right? Governance, reservations, front desk and guest services, housekeeping operations, laundry operations, maintenance and engineering, security, life safety and emergency response, procurement, like buying things, that the stuff they need for the operations, human resources, guest experience. There's an office it's a hotel above and an office below, so how those two buildings work together and how the operations work together. So, I mean, it's very, very extensive. Can you imagine if I had to write every word of that myself? Like
Years.
Well, I wouldn't have taken it on because, first of all, it's just too tedious, right? And the thing is, so I am a hospitality consultant. So what do I have to control this output? What do you think it is that I have so that I can control this output and vet it? What do I have? If I've been a hospitality consultant for years.
You have your brain and your knowledge.
Yes, and my experience. So I know what I want it to do and what I want it to tell the hotel to do, to operate. So I could write all of this from scratch, but AI can do it faster and better. And it's thinking of things like little things that I don't have to come up with, right? But I know I have the context, and this is why, well, it's why Firecircle, all of you are learning the context that you need for operating your businesses. And we're trying to help with that with these live calls, with our programs. We're trying to give you as much knowledge base as we can give you. And you're learning all the time out in the world, and you're learning as you run your businesses. You're learning yourself. You're giving yourself your own context every day operating. But yes, you have that. So, you have to be able to evaluate what AI is spitting out and say, oh, yes, that is correct. That procedure would work. Yes, I'm going to leave that in the manual. So that was important. It's not like I've never run a hotel and I just blindly asked it, oh, make up a manual for this hotel. So, you are giving it as much context from the knowledge you have as you possibly can. And then you're evaluating what it gives you back to say, yes, I'm going to keep that. That's a good part of the manual, or that's a good procedure. One of the things that was extraordinary to me that I didn't do until the very end, and probably I should increase the size of this so you can see it a bit better. But see where it says security, life safety, and emergency response. I originally just had one sort of one blurb about emergency response. And then yesterday, this AI now knows a lot about this hotel. It knows how much staff are on. It knows the opening hours. It knows so much about the hotel already. So I said, okay, build me a detailed emergency response procedure. And if it didn't spit out all of this yesterday, see all of this so 8.7 existed, it gave me all the fine points, all the way up to 21. So 21 individual emergency procedure points that I can now almost create a separate document that sits at the front desk that is they can grab right away if something's going on, right? Or they can memorize it, right? The front desk team and the housekeeping team, the ops team, basically. So look at this, Arctic and severe weather considerations. I didn't make that up. I'm gonna go so you can see it. So in the manual, it talks about what are we going to do, because it's flipping cold up there all winter, right? And it's long, their summer's very short. It's warm for June and July and a bit of August, and it starts getting cold again and dark. So it came up with all of this. It came up with all this because I've entered so much other information before I asked it to do this, but it's quite accurate. So kind of extraordinary. Now I'm going to share my other screen for those of you who are not necessarily used to working in AI. And I want to show you what my Chat GPT screen looks like. Just before we go, you get a bit of a glimpse of that.
Careful with the sensible data.
Say that again, Nacho.
The sensible data.
The sensible data?
Yeah. Yeah, whatever sensible information you have there.
Yes, yes, right? Okay, so can you see this screen, everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my Chat GPT account. I won't show you how I log into that, but it's super simple. I have something called Firecircle Workspace, so it's a business account for chat, okay? But you can see all my projects, right? This is my other company. I have another project. Other people have way better organization than I do, but I'm just showing you what mine looks like. I have Firecircle Marketing. It's another project. But then this is the hotel right here, Solid Mute. I added a project. I called it Solid Mute. That's the name of the hotel and the project. And I have this other project inside of Solid Mute, a chat called Operations. And that is where I started uploading everything to, was a chat within this project. Very simple. It's kind of like Google Drive, But this is the prompt that I gave it yesterday. So when you're doing a prompt, so you do a prompt down here, ask ChatGPT, and this was the prompt I gave it yesterday. Understanding this project and building, because I know it does. Please draft an emergency procedure for Seligmuth in the case of fire or other evacuation-related emergencies. Okay, that's all I had to tell it for it to spit out those 21 points, because it knew so much by now about the hotel. And this section became the rest of section 8.7 in the manual, but this is what it wrote. I didn't write any of this. Blah, 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 blah. Right? It knew all the systems, it knew, because I'd uploaded those. So that's the magic and the time savings that makes it all worthwhile to me. You know, I think that even if all you did, like, let's say I'm thinking now of Daniel, even if all you have right now is some photos of your place, inside and outside, maybe a site plan that maybe shows like from the air, like where the cabins are, maybe a Google map screenshot of where it is in the world, maybe your website, if you got that, and maybe a bit of your website would probably have a bit of a description, but maybe from you, a bit of a description about how you operate right now, and you write it out or you type it out, and that's what you would upload. And you would say, I'm trying to build an operating manual. Let's go back. I'm going to reshare that slide that has all of our, reshare this guy. So what I'm saying for Daniel is, you know, you would describe your operation, you'd upload, you tell it what sections you want it to work on right now. Like maybe right now you just want it to give you like your housekeeping procedures. I'm making it up. I have no idea, but you know, housekeeping. And you upload things that will help it understand your situation for housekeeping, which is what I just described. Pictures, anything you have in writing already. You can even, by the way, you can even record and then upload the recording. You know, if you want to talk into something or talk to transcribe and upload that document. And then ask it to draft your housekeeping procedures and see what happens. So I'm going to stop there because that's a lot of information, but please download the link in the chat. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And would you find this useful for your own business? Particularly, well, anyone answered that question, but I particularly love to hear from Daniel or from Carol.
Yeah, I'll look for the link there. I'm just on my way at home. So.
Okay, well, let's I wonder if I could just take would you be willing to give me your email address, Daniel, in the chat? And we could email this to you if you like. So I can keep the window open until you have a chance to do that. Want to make sure you get it. Thanks, Nacho. I think Nacho had to log out. Carol's just connecting to audio. I think maybe she's had a bit of a challenge there. Hi, Carol. She's still trying to connect. Denise, I know you've, oh, there we go. Thanks, Daniel. Got it. Denise, what about for you? I know you're very organized and you have a lot of stuff probably already documented, but what's your takeaway from today?
I love it. I love it. It's exactly how I work, Deneen. So I love this, and your methodology is exactly how I work. So I'm going to be using this, even though I only have one unit. We have to prepare for evacuations. I was just thinking about that. I don't have a plan for my guests, right? I don't have that and also the linens and the maintenance and all of that. I've got policies in place, but they are scattered. They're not all in one document. So this is gold. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad. I just figured you'd already have a manual. So. Okay, well, that's fantastic. If it's gonna do that for you, I'm thrilled.
Well, and I
And-
have to agree because we have the same, like I have cleaning checklists. I have, I have all kinds of different checklists and different, again, I need to pull it all together.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
this is a way to do it. So, I mean, that's another use for AI right there is just upload what you've already got and get it to synthesize everything into one document for you, right? And create checklists from that, like, like that emergency procedure one that I just did, I could now generate a checklist. So it's like that could be living on at reception. It's like, oh my God, the fire alarm is going off. Let me grab this and make sure I've done all these things, right, as a checklist, right? So yeah. Uh, Daniel, I'm just sending you that document now. Carol, I can see Carol still trying to connect to audio. Reach out to, I'm going to put my email here in the chat, Carol, if you want it. If there's anything you want to ask me directly, please do. So there's my email, everybody. Thank you for today, and we will see you next week, and we will continue that conversation, Denise, about cancellation policies during an emergency.
I love it. I'd be happy to anything that you want to hear from me, just ask because I'd be happy to go over it. It's so frustrating.
Okay, well, I feel like it is for everyone and scary too. So,
Mhm.
all right, thanks everyone for being here. Great to
Bye.
meet you, Daniel, and we're here for you. Send us your questions. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Kim. Bye, Carol.